had a big family where there were 6 children. I was 4th down in line. And we lived in a little town in Missouri, Boonville. They had one dancing teacher. And so when I was about 6 or 7, they decided that I was graceful, and so they took me to this dancing teacher. She gave several recitals of which I was in. My father came out to Hollywood to start a new business, candy machines of all things, and he took 4 of us with him, and I was the youngest, so I got to go. And we came out from Boonville in a car. We drove. Anyhow, we got to Hollywood, and I still didn't have any money for dancing lessons. But then my grandmother came out a little while later on, so she gave it to me as a gift. I started at Fanchon and Marco, and I think I was about 11 years old then. And I got just 1 lesson a week for a while because there wasn't that much money. But I was very fortunate to get a very, very good teacher. I would take an hour private lesson. In order to get money for that private lesson, which was cost $2, I had to teach. By then, my mother decided that I had to go. I couldn't go to a public school because they would never let me out for anything. She put me in Hollywood professional school. But I went to school with Donald O'Connor, Mickey Rooney, all of these kids that were my peers at that time, you see. Me, I practiced ballet. I was going to be a ballet dancer if it killed me. And that's all I wanted to do.
There were just 3 of us living in the house now. One time it was about a dozen. My sister, me, and my mother. Everybody else were either gone away to the Americas or Canada or everywhere. And my mother was left alone with her father, her mother, my grandmother, you know. But, when I was back on the island, I thought I had investigated the whole island because I was always running somewhere here and there, you know. I very seldom live at home. I had food when out by the ocean. I had shrimp. I had all kind of seafood. And believe me, it's better to eat it fresh like that. You don't even have to salt it. You know, the ocean is the best. So I was raised that way. I had to fetch food for my own. There was no food around, and get in the mountains, different time of year, all kind of berries and things, whatever I could catch, you know. I remember one thing when the war, when the Italians were occupied, I would get in line with a tin can, and they would give us some hot, they call it soup, but it was mostly like dishwater, you know. But when you give us something warm, your stomach feels good anyway, so we'd get in line there and get some warm water there. And I was 10 years old, and I left the island. I cried because that was the way I lived, you know. Who knows where I was going to, what I was going to be like. So then from there we went to Chile. It was 44 days, I think the trip was long. And sometimes was very rough weather, and everybody had to stay in the cabin.
I think recently I've been asking Dad a lot about some of his experiences when he was young and when he went to South America. And he was a very good swimmer. I think I mentioned earlier about when he swam around the swimming pool. And I mean, he was 60 years old, and he did 3 laps around the pool. So I was asking him about what he did when he was younger, what kind of swimming experiences he had. In Vis, Croatia, everybody would swim. They lived right next to the water. It was a kind of a beach town. And then when he took the boat up to South America, they went down around the Cape, I believe.
And then it took 44 days on the ship name was Venezuela, Italian ship, Geneva, Italy, were 44 days to Chile.
And there were older boys than him, maybe 4 or 5 years older. They would dive off the side of the boat, and this was a kind of a macho thing for these kids. And Dad wanted to be part of the group. He was a little young, but he knew he was very good at diving. He was very good at swimming. So what he did, he dove off the boat and swam under the ocean liner and came up on the other side. Now, he told me, he said, I almost died. I'm never going to do that again. But the fact that he did it and he made it is just amazing.
It was kind of rough in Chile, we were in the country for a while. And my mother had to put me to school. She was cleaning rooms, because it was very difficult. It was hard to make a living and just to feed us. And then she put me in the Salesian College.
I think, and he was fortunate in a way, to get in the best school in Chile and be the valedictorian of his class. And they would literally beat you. It was sun up to sundown, and those nuns would just beat you when you made mistakes. And so when he came out of that, he could read, write, and speak Latin.
I had very good engineering teachers, mechanical engineering, and he taught me a lot. So the main thing I was interested in it was between me and this fellow named Navarrete, who was top in school, and we found Mario Navarrete, 777, he had 16. Then pretty soon they found my name, Lenchir, and they look for 777. All the way 7, I beat him on one thing, by 1 point.
I mean, the school was really amazing from what he's told me about it, because not only did they have all the academic subjects and everything, but they taught you how to work with your hands. You had to saw a railroad track in half every day, and then if it wasn't straight, you had to file it till it was straight. So and the reason they thought, well, we're teaching people how to run the country, so we want them to know everything, and then because then you can tell somebody, how hard it is to do something. So you don't make unreasonable demands on people. And they were trying to build great leaders in that college, and Dad was lucky enough to get in there, and it come out pretty good. That helped him out a lot. So.
But I didn't know at that time there was a Baburista, a very, very rich man in Chile. He took it on himself to pay for my schooling. I was there 4 years. And I didn't know until I came to this country that he was paying for that all that time. Then I had to wait 6 years to get a passport to come here because it was hard to get a visa, Yeah, on Christmas Eve we landed in San Pedro. We were there left all alone.
It was at Paramount Theater, downtown Los Angeles. That's when I had my first job when I was 12. And I got paid $7 for the week and all the ice cream I could eat. When I was 15, I went to, there was an open call at MGM. And all of the kids in my ballet class decided, let's go. So we all went and stood at the stage door, agog, because it was huge, the stage that we had never seen. And all these gorgeous girls, glamour girls, going back and forth, and we little kids with our ballet clothes on, we felt so sort of out of place, We didn't know what to expect. Pretty soon they had them go audition one by one, and the glamour girls went through one by one, and they couldn't do anything. They were lucky if they could walk across. So I got a little more courage, and I said to the kids, I said, well, it's now or never if I don't get out there. So I got out there and I danced, and at 15 I was pretty good. I did double fouettes and chassisses, and I was very good at turns. And then I ended with 4 pirouettes and down on my knees and my hands out. Look what I can do, you know. And everybody and the whole stage clapped for me. I didn't know what to do. I almost fainted. I was just so amazed that they would clap for me. I mean, it was amazing. Naturally, I got the part in the picture. Now, the movie was called Balalaka, Lona Massey and Nelson Eddy. And that was the first picture I ever worked in. I got $55 a week. I felt like I was a movie star, but naturally I knew I wasn't. But anyhow, my mother was so proud of me that she wrote back to Boonville and said, gave all the details of my movie career and so on. And I don't know what she told them, because when they wrote back again, they said, well, gee, she did very well, but why did they have to change your name to Ilona Massey and have her sing?
I was a lifeguard there for a while, but I remember one thing, they used to dive down about 15, maybe 18 feet. We had to pick up a rock and come up with the rock. That was easy for me because I was raised in the water practically on the island, like Catalina Island and your country, you know. And I was in the water all the time, so I didn't have no problem making that one. But there were 1 or 2 better swimmers than me, but that didn't last for long.
Dad was quite an athlete, you know. He would walk around the studio on his hands. That was a very big floor, and he would walk from one corner on his hands to the other corner. You know, he would do the flagpole, and I don't know if everybody knows what the flagpole is. If you have a pole that's sticking up that's very strong, and you'll grab it on the top with one arm, and you grab it on the bottom with another arm, and you stick your body straight out from there, just like a flag.
And how did I get in show business as a dancer?
Well, that's your story, not mine.
No, are you through yet?
That's
I'm going to tell him. I'm going to tell him.
You tell him.
Yeah, okay. Now, see, she was a trained ballerina. She was good, so that was easy. But I had just a few dancing lessons, so I had to get in to make a living by hook or crook, you know. So I noticed they were making pretty good money, those guys dancing. So at Paramount Studio, I got in line, and I asked the boys, they said you had to show your union card, you know. So they come to me, and they asked me for my union card. Oh, I left at home, you know, tell them. They're going to, I left at home, yeah. But they were, I was the right height and everything. I guess they wanted me, so they didn't make a big fuss, or they thought I was telling them the truth, you know. But once in a while, I'd lie a little bit to get along. When I came in, and Leroy Prince was the director of dancing, I said, he said, well, how come you didn't have your card? I says, well, I didn't have time to give it to me. I knew you needed good dancers here, so I was good-looking, cute young man, so he accepted me. So I got in there. I worked on quite a few, because they were always lifts, and you get twice as much money when you lift a girl up, you know. So I made quite a bit of money. And I got a little more confidence in myself. So I want to get in as an actor. Mm-hmm. So they needed an international squadron actor. If if you don't have an agent, it was hard to get in to see the casting director, you know. So I figured out a way. There was outside, there was a little gate there, and I wore like Spanish wall with tile. I took my corporate over my shoulder, grabbed the wheelbarrow, and I go inside the studio. That was a Warner Brothers. And I calculated approximately where the back door was, and I was lucky I got into the right one.
This is my friend Jimmy Grant from America.
Hi, fellas.
I heard a lot about you from Squadron Leader Wyatt. My name's Ed May.
Well, glad to know you, Ed May.
I'd like to meet some of my friends.
And the minute I came in, I said, "Oh, sorry, I'm late. I'm sorry, I'm late. I want to confuse him. I don't want him to check me whether I was on the list or not."
Flight Lieutenant Kraskowitz from Poland.
Come again?
Kraskovich. You can call me Mike.
Glad to know you, Mike.
Well, by this time, I guess they have to have a, Slavic personality. And so I got a job. I worked there quite a while. Yeah, I was a little better to do then from there on. And but then a strange thing happened. Ronald Reagan. Reagan was in with agents, and I mean, he was a big personality, I guess. And he made nothing. I got $50 more a week than he did. I must have put on a good talk. I must have gotten somebody confused.
What do they want anyway?
What do you think they want?
Que lugar engraçado. Mas pequenos são bonitas.
What we intended to do when we first got together, I was going to be a dishwasher, and she was going to be a waitress.
Where does love begin and where does friendship end? The guy and girls are shaking hands, but when does he romance?
This will be, I assure, good food and a little money too. That was a smart thing to do.
As long as there's music for sweethearts to sing, I'll sing you my love, melodies of the birds on the wing.
So then we never got to indulge in that kind of work because I got her a job with Gregory Ratoff in a movie. It was Sister Teresa's first movie picture.
Anyhow, we decided to become a dance team because he was working in one studio and I was working in another studio, and it was just so that we'd never have a life, see? Mm-hmm. So we decided the best thing to do is to become a dance team. I sat there for the 2 or 3 months and not a soul came in. It was very depressing. Finally, they started coming in, and it was all right. I gathered quite a few pupils.
That first studio was, if you're familiar with San Pedro, you cannot drive through San Pedro because if you take the main streets, you end up at the bluff. And it was out there at the end of Gaffey. They used to call it the Redmonds Hall. And that's where I took my first class. And I walked into the Redmonds Hall, And it was a wooden building, and it may have had 15 light bulbs up in the ceiling, but as I recall, there was just one. And it was very dark, and it was very spooky. And Rosalie asked us to come over to a corner of this hall, and there were some ballet bars. And the moment I saw her, I was in the time and the space.
I still remember my first ballet class. I can envision myself being at the bar at 3½, and at their old studio down on Gaffey, and I think it was either Gaffey or Pacific, and remember my first ballet class. It's just one of the earliest memories of my life.
When I went to the studio to see what she was offering, and I saw Rosalie dancing with Alva, and I saw this leg go up in the air and these pirouettes, and I'm looking at her and I'm saying, I want to be able to do this. The opportunity was like a gift from heaven.
My husband said, if you're going to teach, Rosalie, because I decided that would be the best thing with a child, you know, to teach. He says, if you're going to teach, he says, I'm going to build you a beautiful studio. Well, I thought he was just kidding. I didn't know it. We didn't have any money. How could he build me a beautiful studio?
It was amazing, you know, how little money anybody had in those days. So I think my dad had a few $1,000s saved up, and then he borrowed the rest of the money from Uncle Joe, and I think he built the studio for about $5,000. He actually drew the blueprints and built it himself with the help of, you know, he had one helper, you know, and now he might have had a carpenter come out once in a while, but he didn't really need one.
My uncle that brought us here, I managed to borrow money from him, and I told Rosalie, this is a nice town, it's cool here by the ocean, we're going to make our base here. So first thing I do, I bought a couple of lots up there, Weymouth Corners area they call, and I think it cost me each $1,100. Now they're probably $500,000 each. They're very expensive. But anyway, so I bought 2 lots. And my uncle that brought us here, I didn't have any collateral or nothing, so he loaned me the money to build a studio, but not the full amount. I had to somehow outsmart the banks, you know. Yeah, they're very smart, that's hard to do. I figured, what? I'm going to deposit this, and then I'm going to tell them that I'm going to build a school, I need some more money, but I'm going to deposit more money with them, you know. I have that innocent face, and they believe everything I say. I managed to get a loan for about $1,500 on that one. Then I take that money and take it to another bank and tell them the same story. I did that with a couple of banks. Each time I did that, they loaned me $1,500 or so. So now I was in the money almost, you know.
Nobody had really heard too much about classical ballet here. My husband went around to the houses and sort of talked to the Croatians and trying to tell them the advantages and the advantages of their daughters having ballet.
I came from a family in San Pedro that was not well off, so we could not afford dance. And I was always involved in the Parks and Recreation, and I was always dancing without any training. One day, Alva showed up at my house and said, I saw your daughter in a performance at the junior high school, and we're interested in offering her some dance lessons. And my parents said, well, she's been dancing ever since she could put shoes on, and she's never had a dance lesson, and we don't have the money. And that had nothing to do with it. They wanted to offer me an opportunity to dance. And I was about 14, yeah, I was along.
I didn't realize how significant it was for a long time. I thought it was kind of a homemade thing because we were a family, we had a family-run business, and I guess I didn't realize how much went into it and how skilled they really were.
There was, even though this was just little old San Pedro, everything was totally professional. Everything was done to a T, and you were always felt very fully prepared. It was a very joyful experience. Performing was the treat that you received for all your training, and it was a wonderful experience, and it was something that I would look forward to every year.
The responses to Rosalie and Alva's shows were unbelievable. They were considered in this town, especially, celebrities. They were celebrities. People were in awe of them, and their shows were top-notch.
The shows were very, very solid, and the dancers were good, well rehearsed. The numbers had a lot of humor. They were very well put together shows.
I left here, I went to San Francisco Ballet for summer scholarships for a couple summers. And I spent 10 years with Ballet Pacifica in Irvine. With the background that Rosalie gave me, just the strength from, I just remember, 64 run ensemble, just, oh my gosh, just so much strengthening. But with that strength, we could come to, to another strong place and have what it took to hold one's own.
That excitement of my parents doing this wonderful grand finale lift and all of the Nutcracker music, when they did that final lift or some big thing that would always draw an applause, it made me cry even back then, and it still does right now. I almost feel like crying just talking about it.
People tell us we are soulmates. It's probably true. We were meant to be together.